Alright, hi there, this is Steven with Karma Astrology. I'm doing this live stream to talk about the moon as it resides in the nakshatra of Shravana in the sign of Capricorn, as you can see over here. That MO is the moon. And this is my daily forecast. I like to talk about the moon each day as it goes around the zodiac, as well as some of the other planetary alignments and all the transits and all the different things that we can kind of talk about in general on each day of the year. So you can see down here I have a little text to let you know when it transits into the next nakshatra. It is in Shravana until May 3rd at almost 11 p.m. on the Eastern Time, USA. And that being said, today is May 3rd, 2021. It is 9 a.m. here in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and I hope you're all having a great day out there. Alright, I'm just going to get started. So the moon is in Capricorn. It's right in the middle of Capricorn right now, as you can see over here, and it's getting very close to Saturn in the sky. So when the moon's in Capricorn, the moon shows our kind of sensitive side, our emotions and feelings. When it comes into Capricorn, it kind of feels a little bit of pressure and stress to take action in a way sometimes. It depends on what part of Capricorn it's in, or to just do something in general. Capricorn is kind of a pressure-oriented sign that's internalized since it's a feminine sign, but it's this cardinal sign, so it's active, so we kind of feel like we need to take some sort of action or start something, even though it's this kind of feminine internal action that we're taking. And so Capricorn can be it's really the sign of hard work, diligence, and determination. So if we are acting with those principles, then we're feeling settled and grounded and peaceful in our mind and our feelings. But if we kind of have been lazy, or we haven't really been acting in a way that's going to support ourselves and give us a sense of structure and kind of determination, or if we haven't committed to things for a long period of time, then we might be feeling a little unsettled when the moon kind of comes into Capricorn. And then on top of that, the moon is with Saturn, and Saturn, as they get closer and closer, moon's at about 16 degrees and 49 minutes. Saturn's at 19 degrees. As you can see, that little SA right there is Saturn. And so when the moon and Saturn come into conjunction in general, Saturn kind of is associated with the sign of Capricorn, so it has those elements of stress and determination and pressure built into it. So we might be feeling it a little bit more. Saturn's kind of dominating this conjunction right now, so we feel much more in touch with doing hard work, being serious, being committed to things, and kind of doing things that will allow us and the things that we care about and take care of to survive and last a long time. That's kind of the energy of Saturn. And so the moon coming near this section of the zodiac and Saturn in the sky in Capricorn make us feel much more pressure and maybe a sense of grief or anxiety, and if we haven't, like I said, been committing to things and kind of focusing on our long-term commitments and all the things that kind of give us a sense of stability. So if you haven't been taking care of your health, you might be feeling a little stressed out today, and therefore it's a great day to kind of start doing that and to take action on that. And that being said, I'm going to drill down a little bit deeper. So the moon, as you can see, those three letters after the moon are SHR, and that stands for Shravana. As you can see down here, that text that I put in, Shravana. And Shravana is one of the 27 Indian or Vedic constellations, and they overlay the regular zodiac, the 12-sign zodiac that we know from Greek astrology and Mesopotamian-rooted astrology. But the Indus River Valley civilization had their own 27-sign zodiac, and they kind of combined both systems in certain ways in order to kind of get a little more specific and drill down. And, as society and culture and astrology evolved, they started incorporating, the ancient people started incorporating all different systems that came from Egypt and all the different ancient civilizations, like Mesopotamian civilizations, Egypt, of course, and, Persian since Iran is right next to where the Indus River Valley is in modern-day Pakistan, they were very close and they connected a lot of ideas, and astrology was one of them. So they kind of incorporated the 12-sign zodiac into their 27-sign zodiac, just for a little history there. But the moon in Shravana. So I'm going to talk a little bit about Shravana, just so you get an understanding of what this is, and then I'll talk about the strengths and weaknesses and some, favorable and unfavorable activities to do on a day like today. So in Shravana, Shru, in Sanskrit means to hear or to learn, and Shravana is kind of what we call the asterism or the star, since each of these nakshatras are kind of like a star, even though they're a section of the sky. We call it the star of the learning ear or the listening ear. And that's because it has this kind of root word of shru. Now, in terms of kind of the deity, which I like to talk about, because the deity provides this kind of archetypal energy of the day. And whenever the moon comes into that section of the sky, or if you have planets there in your birth chart. And so for Shravana, the deity is Vishnu. And for those of you who don't know, Vishnu is the preserver of the three main kind of modern Hindu gods. So it has to do with this element of preservation, of stability, and just existing in general, rather than kind of creation like Brahma or destruction like Shiva. Vishnu is that kind of happy place where we just let everything be in a lot of ways. And it's not like Vishnu didn't take action or anything, but the idea is that especially with Shravana, is that we are kind of experiencing and sitting back and listening, actively listening. So we're not doing nothing and just like zoning out, going into the unconscious or anything like that, but we're actively hearing for lessons. We're kind of reading between the lines, and when you're listening to this, maybe you're learning something about this, or you're learning something about who I am and whatnot. But whatever the case, we're extra perceptive due to that kind of preservation and experiential nature of just sitting back and kind of being and listening. And Vishnu has a lot to do with that. Vishnu, in one of the most famous depictions of Vishnu, is positioned lying down on kind of a chaise lounge or this kind of bed of snakes in a way, but it's the snake god Ahirbunya, and he's kind of floating on the cosmic oceans, kind of in heaven, in the clouds, and just kind of sitting there with his ear. There's opposing yoga that relates to this as well. I think it's I forget the name. I'll have to come back up to that later. But whatever the case, Vishnu is just listening. He's observing and just being, and kind of listening to all of the sounds of existence coming together. And if you don't know much about Hinduism or the idea of Om, that cosmic sound, you always hear people saying Om. That is the cosmic sound of all existence in one, and it's kind of the sound of all the vowels in one. Om. So that's largely related to sound and our ability to hear, because we're hearing the sound of existence on a day like today. We're much more perceptive in a way. It's kind of the silent center of Capricorn. Whereas kind of yesterday, that beginning of Capricorn is filled with this active Uttara Shada energy, where we're kind of going out and trying to be victorious and kind of stake our claims, put our flag in the ground. And today we're kind of just observing and being and becoming one with what we hear and learning from it. And then so the ear is actually the symbol, one of the symbols of this nakshatra, just to kind of double down on that concept of perceptiveness and learning. I think something really interesting that I read today is that the ear is the only one of the sense organs that we don't have to do anything. We don't have to take any action for. So we don't have to breathe in to smell or anything, or open our eyes to see, but we just kind of, the more still And the more quiet we get inside and in our body, the more we can perceive. And that is kind of a special quality that's this feminine quality of being rather than, necessarily doing, which is more of like this creative masculine quality, taking an action. But the action is more of like an internal action than when we're listening. Let's see. There's also, let me just show you what it looks like in the sky. I always like to show the actual location of this in the sky so you can see. Alright. And then I'll bring it back a little bit so you can see it with the night sky. It's a little more clear. So there's the moon in Capricorn in the night sky. And that bright star right there is Saturn. So you can see that Saturn and the moon are getting incredibly close right now as the moon and Saturn and Jupiter kind of all travel along this orange line. You can see the little slightly different paths of each of these planets, but they're basically in the same plane. They travel around the same plane, which is why we use the zodiac, because the zodiac kind of outlines the outside of that plane. Here, I'll show you there. Boom. And you can see now we're clearly out of Sagittarius land over here, and we're into Capricorn, kind of the meat and center of Capricorn, because that's what Shravana is. There's another nakshatra towards the end of Capricorn where the moon will be, I guess, tomorrow. And then we'll be getting closer to Jupiter in Aquarius over here. That's one of the things, just as a side note, that I really love about Vedic astrology and sidereal astrology in general, is that in sidereal astrology we use the sidereal zodiac, which is the star-oriented zodiac, so it's still accurate and aligns with, the actual positions of the stars in the sky, rather than the seasons, as we kind of do in the West. In most Western astrologers, most astrologers in Europe and the Americas and places like that tend to use the seasonal zodiac or the tropical zodiac, and we call it just astrology in general, but it's really just a specific type of astrology. And I believe that over time, that type of astrology is getting less and less accurate with regards to the actual scientific nature of the stars and the sections of the sky, where that energy comes from, and how it kind of goes from that specific section of the sky, rather than from the seasonal aspect of the Earth revolving around the sun. So Western astrology kind of talks about it as if, the Earth revolving around the sun is what creates kind of the energy of these different sections of the sky, and we project our little solar system onto the universe and actually kind of take a 1900-year-old picture of the sky and just rotate it with the seasons. Whereas in Vedic astrology and in sidereal astrology in the West, we do take the actual locations of the stars in the sky, which haven't changed, very much, if at all, over the last, 10,000 years, 5,000 years that astrology has been around. That's my little spiel on that, so you know where I stand, because I know that's kind of a debate between people. And let me get back to Shravana. So today we're listening, we're getting still, but we're actively listening. It's a fantastic day for meditation in that regard, because that is kind of the perfect single-pointed focus on whatever we're doing. That's kind of the idea of meditation, is single-pointed focus. And there's many different types of meditation and, things you can do with it, dharana, dhyana, samadhi, those kind of things, if you know what those are. And it gives us kind of this power to connect with higher consciousness, because we're able to just get still and listen and perceive on a day like today. And now I'm going to get to the strengths and weaknesses. So the strengths on a day like today gives us a tremendous capacity for learning and perceiving, as I've been talking about. It gives us success when in foreign places or in our travels. It allows a strength on a day like today allows us to be prosperous, because we are very perceptive and understanding of our environment, and so we can utilize that to our advantage. It allows us to be more balanced and modest, because we're not acting too much, we're just perceiving as the action. It gives us more more of a sense of objective morality and ethics, as we're just observing kind of natural law and the cosmic laws that are unfolding and always, that we're bound to as long as we're in this kind of physical form, and perhaps beyond the physical. It makes us more contemplative. Of course, there's this kind of humanitarian aspect, because we're sensitive and caring on, and thinking about just all of these kind of feminine principles that deal with caring for others and being sensitive to others and their plight in life. In terms of strengths, it can give us a nice healthy relationship with our partners or other people on a day like today. It makes us really good listeners, of course, and speakers in a way, because we've taken the time to listen so that we can communicate effectively and much more respectfully and gently. It makes us more liked for those reasons too. Other strengths, it gives us a sense of creativity and a quick ability to learn. And then in terms of the weakness or shadow sides on a day like today, it can make us too hypersensitive. So you have to be careful about not getting overly sensitive or, too sensitized, because you're not exposing yourself to too much. We can be a little overly concerned with our reputation and, how other people perceive us on a day like today. We can be a little more pessimistic if things aren't too pretty in the world, and that's how we're kind of geared, or whatever we're looking at, whatever we're listening to is kind of going to influence us in a big way on a day like today. And so make sure that it's more of a positive thing or something that's going to uplift you and not bring you down too much. I mean, it's always good to be able to perceive and listen to and understand kind of the dark aspects of life as well as the light, but we don't want to get stuck and lost in this sense of darkness and pessimism. We just want to know what it is and observe it in a lot of ways, if you want to evolve. That's kind of how I gear these, is towards positive evolution and that ability to kind of strip away the layers of the onion until we get to our core self, this kind of pure divine spiritual nature within all of us. And then it can make us a little extreme in terms of our views or our ethical considerations. It can make us a little too generous, believe it or not. That could lead to debt. And all right, sorry about that. I have my dog's walking around being a little crazy today. And then it can kind of make us a little jealous, or we can develop enemies if we gossip too much and, just get a little too petty. So, and we can also get a little too rigid in this area. Just Capricorn in general lends itself towards that kind of dogmatic approach to life, where we say we've observed these things, these are my principles and ethics, and I'm not going to change it all. And that's good, but we need to be able to change our personal religion or our dogma from, as if when we learn or when we experience new information that kind of cuts at the heart of that belief system. We always need to be able to change and to align with more and more truthful wisdom and information. And that's what today is about, is receiving that information and being able to kind of learn from it. So it's actually a good day for counseling others, for being counseled, just for listening to people in general, listening to something and learning. It's a nice day for travel, for buying property or buying things. It's a favorable day for receiving medical treatment, because there's a sense of sensitivity involved and kind of help involved and seriousness, that maybe doctors or healers are more attentive and listening more themselves to what's going on in us. And if we're the doctor or the healer, then we can listen to other people a little better. It's a nice day for socializing and for learning new things and studying languages in particular. For just reading and writing in general, it's a good day to play music or listen to music. To meditate, of course, it's always a good day to meditate. and do any sort of kind of religious practices or activities, and humanitarian activities and practices. Those are always, very nice things to do on a day like today. You just don't want to give too much. You don't want to give it all away and be completely selfless, because you still have, we get trapped in these kind of black and white ways of thinking, especially in the West, and we think, oh, I'm either selfish or I'm selfless. And if we're selfish, we're only taking care of ourselves, and if we're selfless, we're only taking care of other people. So either way, we're kind of neglecting either ourselves or other people, and we need to basically both be able to take care of both ourselves and other people equally, so that we're thinking about us all as one spirit in many forms that we're caring for. We're all one, but that means that we are part of the one and other people are part of the one too. So we have to think about other people's needs and our needs, and maybe not our wants as much as our ego wants us to think about our wants, but our needs need to be met and others need to be met, and that involves the whole slew of physical and emotional and spiritual needs that we have. All right, that was my little rant there too. And then in terms of unfavorable activities, it's not a great day to do anything that involves aggression or harshness or kind of this direct attacking kind of thing. That was the last 4 or 5 days. Now we're getting, at least in this part, we're more internalizing things, and we're trying to be more diplomatic with other people. It's not a great day to file a lawsuit or anything like that, or get into any battles or wars. It's not a great day to take risks. It's not a great day to make big promises or take oaths or completing any sort of activity. And it's not a great day for lending money or lending anything. And it is, that's basically it. So, it's I would recommend going inside, doing internal work, and, at least if you are going to do stuff that's social, that's out in public and stuff, I would definitely recommend focusing more on listening than speaking, and, actively listening, actively respecting other people and paying attention to their truth and what they have to say. And then in general, so the moon is going to make us, if you do follow all these qualities and these things I just talked about, you're going to feel more gentle, or more, more grounded and peaceful, more contented, and like everything's a little more just emotionally stable. And that's obviously, one of the things we all want to go for, is this sense of grounded stability. And since Capricorn is an earth sign, and the moon is a watery planet, when we think about water and earth, you can kind of think about a lake, and how a lake is supported by the earth, by this big bowl of earth underneath it, and the water kind of comes into the lake from the rain or a stream, or however it gets in there. But then eventually the lake fills up, and there's times in which, if you have the Great Lakes and everything, there can be crazy weather and wind and storms, and that's all. We can think of this lake as, if the water is like our mind and our emotions, our feelings, and our mind is moving so fast that our emotions are getting riled up, then we can really feel unsettled, and we can vacillate in our mood from, really happy to really sad to really scared to really self-assured, and we can go in these roll all around with our emotions and our feelings from 1 minute to the next, from 1 hour to the next, or 1 day to the next. And ultimately, we want to be grounded and enough to be able to get beyond the emotions. So when the water in the lake gets really still, when we don't have too much that's kind of affecting our emotions that we're experiencing, then we can get more peaceful and grounded and contented. And that allows us to kind of dive deep into our feelings, which are below the emotions on the surface, the kind of ripples in the lake. And once the lake gets really still, we can kind of perceive the depths of our feeling nature and connect to our spirit and connect to, God or whatever we connect to in a higher way, and expand our awareness in a way that it feels just like grounded and peaceful and safe, and we can just open up and experience so much more, the full realm of feeling and this kind of blissfulness that comes when we are when we're more settled and less settled than more settled than my cat right now and dog. So anyways, I think that's gonna do it for today. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. Give me a thumbs up if you like this video to support the stream. Hopefully we can get some more people watching. If you want to see these on a daily basis to know what's going on in the world and the stars, in other people's minds, in your own mind, then subscribe below. And for these daily updates, and ask me questions, come into the live stream, ask me questions in between the live stream in the comments so that I can answer them in the next one and kind of direct them back at you. And otherwise, I hope you have a really peaceful, relaxing, sensitized learning ear, the learning ear, that kind of experience on a day like today. All right, peace and love. Catch you next time. Take care.